Tonight, we will spend the next hour with one of the most recognized paintings in Western art history. This is an oil painting on canvas. Its dimensions are 73.7 by 92.1 centimeters. A manageable window into an unmanageable world. The title, The Starry Night. The artist, Vincent Willem van Gogh. The year, 1889. The painting currently resides at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Accession number 472.1941. It was acquired in 1941 through the Lily P. Bliss bequest. Van Gogh painted this work in June of 1889. At that time, he was living at the Saint-Paul de Mausolles Asylum in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. He had admitted himself voluntarily following the incident in Arles, the ear incident. From his room on the first floor of the asylum, he could look eastward, toward the Alpes, a mountain range in Provence. The village in the painting is not Saint-Rémy itself. It is a composition, a memory, perhaps. The church spire is not Provençal. It is Northern European, Dutch, most likely. Van Gogh reimagined his homeland under a southern sky. He wrote to his brother Theo, "This time it's just simply the exterior of a night study." He was pleased with the blue. He mentioned this specifically. The blue satisfied him. The technique is oil on canvas. The ground layer is cream-colored. Van Gogh applied the paint in thick, raised layers. This technique is called impasto. The surface of the painting is not flat. It is relief-like, sculptural in a sense. The brushstrokes are visible. They are intentionally visible. This is not a photographic rendering. It is a vision. The painting measures roughly 29 by 36 inches in imperial units. Small enough to be intimate, large enough to contain infinity. Van Gogh completed approximately 2,000 artworks in his lifetime. Most were created in the last decade of his life, the last 10 years, 1880 to 1890. This particular work was painted barely a year before his death, July 1890, Auvers-sur-Oise. A gunshot. Self-inflicted, most historians believe. He died 2 days later, his brother Theo at his bedside. But tonight we are in June, 1889, Provence. The air is warm, the cicadas are singing. The asylum is quiet. The other patients are sleeping. Van Gogh is awake. He is often awake. The composition divides into 3 planes. Foreground left, the cypress tree. It dominates the lower portion. Dark, almost black, but not black. Van Gogh avoided pure black. He mixed dark green with blue, with brown, with violet. The color is complex, layered. The cypress rises like a dark flame, Cypresses sempervirens, the Mediterranean cypress. In Provence, a cemetery tree, a symbol of mourning, but also of eternity. The cypress does not lose its needles. It remains evergreen. Sempervirens, always alive, always green. This vertical line anchors the composition. It is the architectural support, the diagonal thrust that connects earth to sky. The cypress reaches upward but remains rooted. It bridges 2 worlds, the earthly and the celestial. Technically, this is a masterful use of counterbalance. The heavy dark mass on the left is offset by the illuminated village on the right. The eye moves between them, left to right, dark to light, earth to civilization, nature to culture. The cypress is rendered in thick, writhing strokes. The paint is heavily worked. You can see the ridges where the brush moved, upward, twisting, like fire rendered in oil and pigment, like smoke frozen mid-rise. He was fascinated by their form, by their darkness against the bright Provençal landscape. He wrote that they were beautiful in line and proportion, like Egyptian obelisks, he said. That was his comparison. Egypt, monumentality, ancient permanence. Middle ground, the village, small, quiet, a collection of modest buildings clustered together. The rooftops are red-brown, terracotta. The walls are pale, cream and ochre. Windows glow with yellow light, cadmium yellow, perhaps, or chrome yellow mixed with white. The village appears compact, self-contained, a human settlement in a vast landscape, protection, community. The buildings huddle together as if for warmth. The church spire rises in the center of the village. It is the tallest structure, but it does not reach the sky. It remains firmly in the earthly realm, while above, everything is in motion. The spire points upward, but cannot touch what moves above. Behind the village, the Alpilles Mountains, rolling hills rendered in deep blue and green. They undulate across the horizon line, wave-like, organic. The mountains are not harsh or jagged. They're soft, almost liquid in their movement. They flow rather than thrust. The Alpilles are limestone, pale stone. In daylight, they appear almost white. Blues and greens, night colors, the color of shadow, the color of distance. And then, the sky. The sky occupies more than 2/3 of the canvas. It is the true subject of this painting. Everything else, the cypress, the village, the mountains, exists in relation to the sky. The sky is the protagonist. The sky is not empty. It is not the passive backdrop we expect from earlier centuries of landscape painting. This sky is alive. It moves, it spirals, it churns. "11 stars are visible. The moon, actually, a crescent moon on the right, and Venus. The morning star, the evening star, the same celestial body. The planet, incidentally named for the Roman goddess of love, appears at magnitude -4.6 at its brightest, brighter than anything in the night sky except the moon. But he knew Venus was different, steadier, brighter. The other stars, 9 of them, perhaps 10, are arranged across the canvas in a roughly crescent pattern, echoing the moon's curve. They are not individually identifiable constellations. This is not an astronomical chart. This is emotional astronomy, psychological cartography. The spirals, the great spiraling forms in the sky. There are approximately 11 major spiral formations visible. They move like water, like smoke, like the curl of cream in coffee, slowed down, frozen in paint, suspended. These spirals have fascinated scientists. Astronomers have noted their similarity to turbulent flow patterns, to eddies in fluid dynamics, to the mathematical models we now use to describe chaotic systems. Some have compared them to spiral galaxies. He painted what he saw, or what he felt, or what he remembered, or all three simultaneously. The color palette is predominantly blue, ultramarine, cobalt, Prussian blue mixed with white to create the lighter tones. The sky is not one blue, it is many blues. Dark blue in the deeper recesses of the spirals, pale blue-white where the forms catch light, violet in the transitions, green-blue in the shadows, and yellow. The stars are yellow, the moon is yellow, the windows of the village are yellow. Yellow. The color of sunflowers, of wheat fields under the Provençal sun, of hope, perhaps, or simply of light, of visibility, of presence. The brushwork is directional. Each stroke follows a path. In the spirals, the strokes curve and rotate. They create circular momentum. In the mountains, they undulate horizontally. In the cypress, they twist upward. Every mark has intention. Every application of paint serves the movement. Nothing is accidental. The paint is thick. In some areas, it stands nearly a quarter inch off the canvas. This is not delicate work. This is urgent work, physical work. Van Gogh pressed the brush firmly. He worked quickly, most likely. The paint has body, weight, substance. The horizon line sits low, roughly 1/3 up from the bottom of the canvas. This gives dominance to the sky. The earth is compressed. The cosmos expands. The emphasis is clear. This is a painting about what exists above, not what exists below. Notice the relationship between the cypress and the church spire. Both are vertical elements. Both reach upward. But the cypress is organic, wild, dark. The spire is constructed, ordered, pale. Nature versus civilization. Instinct versus faith. The untamed versus the structured. The light source is ambiguous. The moon provides some illumination, but the stars seem to generate their own light. They pulse with internal energy. They are not merely reflecting, they are emanating. They are sources, not mirrors. There, in the village, Saint-Rémy sleeps. The windows, small rectangles of yellow light. Perhaps 12 windows are illuminated, perhaps fewer. From this distance it is difficult to say, but there is light. Someone is awake, or someone has left a lamp burning. In one of those houses, a child might be sleeping. a small bed, a wool blanket, the kind of rough Provençal fabric that scratches at first but warms quickly. The child's breathing is even, slow. Outside, the cicadas have stopped singing. It is late June, but the nights are still cool. The stone walls hold the day's heat for a few hours, then release it to the darkness.
The child does not know that someone is watching. From the asylum, from the window of a small room, Van Gogh sees the village but cannot enter it. He is separate, removed. He observes from a distance, always from a distance. There, the church. The spire rises, Gothic in style, pointed. In the Protestant regions of the Netherlands, such spires are common. In Catholic Provence, less so. The churches here have bell towers, square, solid. This spire is a memory, a transplant. Van Gogh places his Dutch childhood under a French sky. He merges geographies, combines histories. The church is closed now. The doors are locked. The pews are empty. No services until morning. But perhaps the building holds warmth from the day. Stone absorbs heat slowly and releases it slowly. The interior might still be tepid while the exterior cools. The air inside might smell of incense, of old wood, of candle wax. Up above, the spirals. Consider them as wind made visible, as the visualization of something invisible. The mistral, perhaps, that fierce north wind that blows down the Rhône Valley. Van Gogh knew the mistral. He wrote about it, how it made painting outdoors difficult, how it knocked over his easel, how it dried the paint too quickly, how it made him feel uneasy, agitated. But this is not the mistral. This is something else. This is the night sky made visible, the motion of celestial bodies rendered in paint. The spirals move clockwise, counterclockwise. They do not all move in the same direction. They are independent systems, each one a small galaxy of brushstrokes, each one autonomous. The moon, a crescent. Waxing or waning, we cannot know from the painting alone, but astronomically, in June 1889, the moon would have been waning, past full, approaching new. The crescent opens toward the right, which typically indicates waning in the northern hemisphere. The crescent is pale yellow, almost white. It sits in the upper right quadrant of the composition. It does not dominate. For a moon, it is surprisingly modest. The stars compete with it. They refuse to be diminished by its presence. Venus. There. The bright point left of center, right of the cypress. In June 1889, Venus was visible as a morning star. Van Gogh would have seen it before dawn, at approximately 4:30. The sky would have been that particular blue-gray of pre-dawn, not dark, but not yet light, the liminal hour. Venus is, of course, not a star. It is a planet, the second from the sun, slightly smaller than Earth. Its diameter, approximately 12,100 kilometers, covered in thick clouds of sulfuric acid. Surface temperature, approximately 460 degrees Celsius. Atmospheric pressure, 90 times that of Earth. Uninhabitable, hostile. But from Earth, it appears as a bright, steady point. Unlike stars, which twinkle due to atmospheric interference, planets shine with constant light. Their light does not flicker. But he knew Venus was different, special, brighter. The ancients knew this too. They called it phosphoros in the morning, hesperos in the evening, the light bringer, the evening star. Two names for one wanderer. The Cypress. It rises from the lower left corner of the composition. Its base is not visible. It extends below the frame of the canvas. This suggests height, significant height, perhaps 15 or 20 meters. Cypress trees in Provence can grow to 25 meters, given enough time and favorable conditions. The form of the cypress is flame-like. It tapers as it rises, wide at the base, narrower at the top. The branches are not individually distinguishable. The entire tree is rendered as a unified mass, a singular dark gesture against the churning sky, a calligraphic mark. Cypress wood is durable, rot-resistant. The ancient Phoenicians used it for shipbuilding, the Egyptians for coffins and sarcophagi. The wood contains natural oils that repel insects and resist decay. There is something funereal about the cypress, something that speaks of preservation, of things that last beyond their expected span, of permanence in the world of change. There, in the middle ground, behind the village, the mountains. The Alpilles, a small range. The highest peak, La Combe, reaches approximately 493 meters above sea level. Not high by alpine standards, but distinctive. The limestone is pale, almost white in full sun. Cretaceous limestone, approximately 100 million years old. Compressed ancient seabeds. Fossils embedded in the stone. At night, under starlight, the stone would appear gray-blue, dark, the color of distance. Van Gogh has rendered them in rolling, wave-like forms. They do not jut, they flow. The brush strokes move horizontally, following the contours, left to right, right to left, undulating, creating rhythm, repetition, pattern. The mountains are not separate from the sky. The boundary is soft, permeable. The blues of the mountains blend into the blues of the sky. There is continuity, a suggestion that earth and sky are not divided, but connected, part of one continuous system. In the village, perhaps someone cannot sleep. An old man. He sits by his window. He looks out at the night. He has lived in this village for 70 years. He has seen many nights, thousands of nights. But each night is different. The stars shift. The moon changes phase. The wind varies. The temperature fluctuates. Tonight, the air is still. He can hear a dog barking in the distance. The sound carries in the stillness. 3 barks, then silence. He thinks about his wife, who died 3 winters ago. She liked to watch the stars. She knew their names: Cassiopeia, Orion, Andromeda. She had learned them as a girl from her father. He does not know their names. To him, they are simply lights, points of brightness in the dark. They are beautiful. That is enough. Names are not necessary for beauty. The old man does not know that someone is painting this night. That roughly 3 kilometers away, in an asylum, an artist is attempting to capture what the old man sees every night without thinking about it. To translate starlight into oil paint. To freeze motion in pigment. To make permanent what is always changing. The asylum of Saint-Paul-de-Moselle. It was originally an Augustinian monastery, built in the 11th century. Romanesque architecture. Stone walls approximately 1 meter thick. Arched doorways. A cloister with columns and a courtyard. Van Gogh could walk in the gardens. He could paint the irises that grew there, the olive trees with their twisted trunks. His room was modest, approximately 4 meters by 3 meters, 12 square meters. A bed, a chair, a small table, 1 window. The window faced east. In the morning, light would pour through, strong Provençal light. But at night, he could see the stars. He could see Venus rising. The asylum housed approximately 30 patients at any given time. Van Gogh referred to them as companions in misfortune. Some suffered from epilepsy, others from what was then called melancholia. Today we might say depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. The diagnostic categories have changed. The suffering remains consistent across centuries. Van Gogh was allowed to paint. Dr. Théophile Perron, the asylum director, approved this. Painting as therapy, as occupation, as a way to manage the condition, as a means of maintaining purpose. Van Gogh produced approximately 150 paintings and 100 drawings during his year at Saint-Paul. An extraordinary output for someone in distress, for someone hospitalized. The Starry Night was painted in his studio room. Not outdoors, not en plein air as he preferred. The view is remembered, constructed, imagined. The cypress is probably from observation. He could see cypresses from his window. The mountains, yes, he could see those too. But the sky is internal. The sky is vision. The sky is what happens inside the mind when looking becomes feeling. Above, the spirals continue to turn. They are not scientifically accurate. Astronomers have noted this. The sky does not look like this to the naked eye. Galaxies spiral, yes. Nebulae form whorls. But individual stars do not create visible spirals in the night sky. This is not observational astronomy. This is not a star chart. This is psychological astronomy. Emotional cartography of the night. This is what it feels like to look at stars when you are alone, when you are far from home, when you are uncertain about tomorrow. Van Gogh was interested in the idea of infinity. He wrote to Theo about it, about how looking at the stars made him dream, how he wondered if death might be like taking a train to the stars, a journey to another place, not an end, but a transition, a movement from one station to another. The stars in this painting are not distant. They are immediate, present. They press forward in the picture plane. They demand attention. They are not passive decoration. They are actors in the composition. They have agency. They do something. The painting was created from memory and imagination, yes, but also from longing, from the desire to see beyond the walls, beyond the asylum, beyond the immediate circumstances, to connect with something larger, something permanent, something that would still exist after the individual consciousness dissolved. Think about scale for a moment. The cypress in the foreground appears as tall as the mountains in the background. This is not realistic. This is not perspectival accuracy. This is expressive. The cypress, close to the viewer, looms large. It asserts its presence. It refuses to recede into proper proportion. It demands to be seen as equal to mountains. The village is small, humble. The buildings are modest. No grand architecture, no cathedrals, no palaces, just simple structures. Places where ordinary people live ordinary lives. Sleep, wake, work, eat, sleep again. The daily rhythm, the human pattern. But above them, the extraordinary, the cosmos, the infinite, the inexplicable made visible. The contrast is intentional, the mundane and the transcendent occupying the same space, the same canvas. Now only the material remains. The canvas itself, woven fabric, linen most likely, flax fibers spun and woven into cloth, a tight weave, approximately 20 threads per centimeter, primed with a cream-colored ground. The ground layer provides tooth, texture for the paint to grip. Without the ground, the oil would sink into the fabric, would stain it, would weaken it over time. The paint, oil paint, pigment suspended in linseed oil. The oil binds the pigment, allows it to spread, to blend when desired. He applied, he built up, layer upon layer, stroke upon stroke. Ultramarine, a blue pigment, historically derived from lapis lazuli, ground stone imported from Afghanistan. Expensive, precious, more valuable than gold in the medieval period. Synthetic ultramarine was available, discovered in 1828 by Jean-Baptiste Guimet, chemically identical to the natural pigment, but affordable, accessible. The color remains deep, rich, the blue of distant mountains, of deep water, of night itself. Cobalt blue, a lighter blue, more violet in tone than ultramarine, discovered in 1802 by Louis-Jacques Thénard. Stable, permanent, does not fade, does not darken, does not react with other pigments. Van Gogh used it extensively, in the sky, in the shadows, in the middle tones of the spirals. Prussian blue, the darkest blue in his palette, first synthesized in 1704 or 1705 in Berlin, an accident in an alchemist's laboratory. A man named Diesbach was trying to create red. He created blue instead. Iron-based, ferric ferrocyanide, technically. Intense, strong, a little goes a long way, mixed with other colors to create depth, shadow, the recesses of the spirals where light does not reach. Cadmium yellow, the stars, the moon, the windows, a bright, warm yellow, slightly orange in tone, discovered in 1817. Toxic. Cadmium is a heavy metal, harmful if ingested, but beautiful, permanent, light-fast. The yellow does not fade even after decades of exposure to light. Chrome yellow, another option available to Van Gogh. Lead chromate, also toxic, lead-based, brighter than cadmium, more acidic in tone. Van Gogh used both cadmium and chrome yellows throughout his career. The exact yellows in the Starry Night have been analyzed through spectroscopy. The results suggest both pigments are present, mixed, layered, combined. White. Lead white. The traditional white of oil painting for centuries. Lead carbonate. Dense, opaque, slightly warm in tone, mixed with blues to create the pale tones, the highlights in the spirals, the crescents of light around the moon, the lighter areas where the eye needs relief from the darkness. Emerald green, viridian, perhaps some chrome green. Van Gogh's greens in this painting are muted, mixed with blues, with yellows, with browns, not pure, not bright. The greens of night, the greens of shadow. The brushstrokes themselves. Look at the brushstrokes. In the sky, they curve. They follow the spirals, round and round. The brush moves in arcs, in circles, in expanding or contracting loops. The motion is visible, recorded in paint, preserved in 3 dimensions. In the cypress, the strokes move upward, vertical, twisting. The brush dances, flickers, like the tree itself is moving, like it is caught in wind, or like it is fire, consuming, rising. Short strokes, horizontal, vertical, building structures, defining walls, roofs, windows, more controlled, more architectural, less expressive, more descriptive. In the mountains, long horizontal strokes, sweeping, following the contours of the hills, left to right, creating rhythm, repetition, the rhythm of landscape, the rhythm of geology, stone shaped by time and weather. The impasto, the thickness of the paint. In some areas, the paint stands off the canvas, ridges, peaks, valleys. The surface is topographical. It has its own landscape, a micro-landscape of paint, a landscape within the landscape. Light hits these ridges, creates shadows. The painting changes depending on the angle of view, on the lighting in the room where it hangs, on whether you are standing directly in front of it or viewing it from the side. It is not static. It shifts. It breathes, in a sense. The spirals. Return to the spirals once more. They repeat 11 times, 11 major formations, variations on a form, each one slightly different, but the same essential motion, the same gesture repeated, round and round and round. The repetition becomes rhythm. The rhythm becomes pattern. The pattern becomes frequency, a visual frequency, a wavelength recorded in paint. The stars, 11 stars, 11 points of light scattered across the canvas. Yellow, white yellow, each one a small burst, a concentration of paint, a node of brightness in the blue darkness. The canvas measures 73.7 by 92.1 centimeters. Small, manageable. You could hold it in your arms, carry it. The weight of the paint, the weight of the canvas, the wooden stretcher frame supporting it. The whole object, physical, material, present. (1889), Saint-Rémy, Provence, France, Europe. He sold very few paintings in his lifetime, perhaps one, perhaps two. The numbers are disputed. This was not one of them. He gave it to his brother. It remained in the family. Never knew it would become iconic. The paint has dried. The linseed oil has oxidized. The chemical process is complete. The painting is stable now, cured. It will last centuries more if properly cared for, if kept at stable temperature and humidity, if protected from direct sunlight, from vibration, from careless handling. The canvas, the linen, the cream ground, the oil paint, the brush strokes, blue, yellow, green, white, blue-black, green-black, black-blue. The spirals, again, the spirals. 11 formations, 11 gestures, 11 moments of the brush moving in circles. The repetition continues, the pattern persists, the frequency maintains, round and round and round. The night, the stars, the village sleeping below, the mountains in the distance, the cypress standing watch. This moment, June 1889, preserved in oil and canvas, held in suspension. The spirals turn, the stars shine, the village sleeps. Thank you for your visit to the Palais De Nyx.